Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon from the National Pythian Council and the Modern Pythian Games team. I'm Rania Lambu from Greece. I'm a STEM instructor, researcher, global educator, ICT teacher trainer, and I'm working at the Greek Ministry of Education and the Greek Astronomy Space Company. I'm also global ambassador of language, literary, and oratory arts, as well as education of the National Pythian Council and also the national ambassador of Ecumenical Delphic Union. Today, I have the pleasure to welcome you all to our 11th International Virtual Conference organized by Modern Pythian Games and the National Pythian Council. Modern Pythian Games, founded by Mr. Bigender Goel, is the first global cultural movement which unites arts, cultures, and traditional sports. It aims to revive ancient Pythian games, which in ancient Greece embraced both arts and sports competitions, and in many ways, modern Pythian games are considered as the real forerunners of the modern Olympic Games. Today, we are privileged to have with us eminent keynote speakers from different countries: France, Iran, Kenya, India, Canada. So without further ado, I would like now to call upon our first keynote speaker, Mrs. Winnie.
Hello, good morning, everyone, or good evening, India. I'm Ashwini. I'm an intercultural trainer based in France right now, but I am also an educator and I have experiences working with Europe and Latin America, especially Dominican Republic. I have taught there for like 8 years, so like that's my brief background, I would say. But right now I'm focusing on like intercultural training and research consulting here in France, in Dijon. So thank you, Rania. Thank you for inviting me to this event. And I wouldn't take much time. I have prepared something like a presentation which basically talks about why it's important to integrate arts and sports together, especially providing an international arena for arts and sports, and especially how does it affect academia or like school curriculum. So that's what I start with it. So yeah, as I was telling you before, this presentation was basically going to talk about like what are the potentials of blending arts and sports internationally, especially in education. And uh, so as I'm based in France, I would tell you like a little bit of like how sports and arts are perceived in the French society. So I would start by that, and then I would tell you like what are the problems that we are actually facing because of a lack of international arena for arts, and how can like what would be the benefits if there was such an was such a possibility, and what benefits it could bring to education, and especially to like especially in case of like schools and higher education. So let me start with the sports scenario in France. So to go a little bit into the French culture, sports is also perceived as something that's not just an activity or a hobby, but also something that people use to like to break the ice. Or like if you meet anybody from France, normally one of the main questions they will be asking you is like, do you practice any sports? Because sports is also like an integral part of the French culture, I would say, and it kind of forms the essence of the social fabric. And as we all know, like there are a lot of international sports events, like we have Olympics, or like especially in case of France, they have something that's called Tour de France, which is like a cycling competition which spans across Europe, as you all know. And whenever this kind of sports events are done, that just kind of exceeds being a sport, and it also becomes something of a national pride, which we see all across the world, right? Whenever there is a sports event, the sports people get they win the match or they win the competition, and the whole nation rejoice. So sports somehow like breaks its mold of just being an activity or a hobby and gets this position of being something that integrates a society, or something that brings passion inside people. And especially if you look at French society right now. Like if you take whatever sports event it be, like rugby or football or whatever sports event it is, it actually acts as a social equalizer, because in sports everybody kind of gets like, it depends on your performance. So there is, I would say, like especially in today's case, like there isn't much of a social divide or economic divide when it comes to sports. Right, it's kind of accessible to everyone because of the government plans that's in place. And also, like if you are a good performer, you get scholarships in universities. If you are a good performer, if you are a good player, you get scholarships in schools. So sports has all this kind of like extra aid from the society or from the government, while we can see like arts is still today like very much divided, and it's not like socially equal when it comes to performing arts, like fine arts, whether it be fine arts or like if it's like even like writing, or poetry. Like there is a big social divide when it comes to arts and sports, and that's something that we should be like looking towards when we are talking about like international events and games too, or giving an international arena to arts. Because like first of all, we have to start working from schools or from education, like lower educational institutes should provide a platform so that arts become accessible to people, and then only we can actually talk about providing an international space, which is not currently the case. Especially, like I can only talk from a French perspective, and especially looking at today's French society, you can see art is very much like socially divided. While on the other hand, we can see like in when it comes to sports does, even though it doesn't do it 100%, but it still provides some sort of like inclusivity when it comes to social and economic division that exists in a society. So like and coming to art, the culture of art in France, we all know that France is a very popular country for arts. Like we have great artists like painters or writers. So like here I have a picture of Water Lilies by Claude Monet, and there is Victor Hugo or Rodin. There are, like in whatever sphere of arts you take, arts has always had a place in the French society. But like as I was mentioning before, even though it had a space and it was celebrated and it was talked about much more than many other countries, still there is a social divide. And um, and most of it is because there is it doesn't start, I would say it's because schools doesn't take enough initiative to promote arts as it take the initiative to promote sports. I think that's one of the biggest problems. So and that's why like providing an international arena would actually help arts to flourish in schools, and also like to start it from a grassroots level. Because as we see, there are when like why do schools promote sports? Because sports have potential. Like there are many places where your nation could be represented through sports, but that's not the case with arts. You have to be like, I don't know, one in a million artists, so that like your painting or your sculpture gets recognized in an international arena. And that's also something that discourages many of the schools or educational institutions or even government institutions to like not spend enough money to make arts accessible to, or art education accessible to kids. Uh, and like here I have given a list of things like why we have like a strong need for something like what you guys are doing with like the with Pythian games and stuff like that, where arts also gets like a place to compete, because there is not even that space where a young artist can go and compete and represent their nation on an international level, right? So so here I have mentioned some problems. Like first, there is lack of a large scale international arena for artists. There exists competition, like individual ones, but not for everything. We don't have like an Olympic games for writing or poetry. So and nobody gets so yes, there is like Nobel Prize and stuff like that, or like Booker Prize and stuff like that, but not a lot of people get to go to that level. So not a lot of artists gets to go to that level. Like if you look at like the opportunities that a sportsman gets, and if you look at an opportunities that an artist get to represent their nation or to represent their art or represent their craft in an international arena, is very low. So again, like how we were talking about gatekeeping of arts and culture, like how arts and culture is something that belongs to the privileged. Like arts and culture is not very accessible to every strata of the society. Especially if you take the case of France, like we have a lot of immigrant population, we have a lot of people who have come from other countries and are like living in France, or now they have the French citizenship. But like there is a big divide for them to access spaces that's strictly like focused on fine arts or music. If you go to the opera de Paris, you won't see many artists of color there. And it's not because there are no artists of color who is good enough to be there. It's just because like they don't get enough accessibility to go into that. But if you look at a French football team, it's very diverse. If you look at it, that like there are people from every strata of the society, you can find them there. And so first of all, an issue that should be addressed is also like opening gates for artists and writers and poets to go more into their craft, or to like to invest more in their craft, so that they can actually go, like they would actually have a space where they can compete and they can make their crafts better. And there is also like when it comes to arts or art competitions, I would say there is also like a lack of inclusion, not just like based on ethnicity or based on race or physical things like that, but there is also lack of inclusion when it comes to like neurodivergent people. Like we don't have any competition. Like we have Paralympics for sportsmen, but we don't have a neurodivergent writing competitions or any that kind of competitions for like fine arts, because somehow it's not enough spoken about in these fields. And then so these were potentially the problems, and once we have identified potentially the problems, we could actually look for solutions, right? So that's why this kind of games, or like the integration of arts and sports, but on an international platform, is very important, because it would actually boost the society, but everybody from every level of the society, every strata of the society, to actually invest more in their craft, to invest more in arts or fine arts or painting. Nobody would be like talking to them like, oh, if a kid goes up to their parents and say, I want to be a painter, nobody is going to tell them that, oh, this is not going to give you like any benefit in the future. You could take a painting as a hobby. But if the kid goes to the parents and say, if the kid is a very good football player, maybe their parents are not going to address it in the same way. They might go a little bit ahead, so that the kid can invest in his craft. And it's important that arts and culture should also get a place where children would be like, where children could actually express themselves and kind of follow their passion without getting any kind of social judgment, because a lot of artists are always like socially judged, especially when it comes to like monetary needs, right? And again, like what kind of benefits this could give us? Like, first of all, social integration. Like every strata of the society would be able to like exercise the craft. Second, it's actually a great tool for like tourism too, especially why do we visit like a lot of places? We want to visit the monuments. A lot of people come to France to visit like the Louvre Museum, which has a lot of paintings and stuff, which was done like many centuries ago. So like, promoting arts and promoting culture and stuff has a lot of benefit for the government too. And especially like providing an international arena would also be beneficial to students, because it would actually increase their intercultural competences, and it will reduce their biases, because arts is a great way to unify people too, just like sports. So when you get into competition with somebody from a different culture or a different arena, like maybe for example music, right? Like music is vastly different all around the world. Like the European classical music is completely different from the Chinese classical music, or from Tanzania, for example. So like and people would have different perceptions about music too. Different sounds could create music, but sometimes if we are not aware of it, that could lead us into like a lot of bias, telling that okay, this is like, it could actually lead into like ethnocentrism. And having an international arena where people, especially young people, could present their craft would actually reduce biases too. And also the intermixing of the society would reduce a lot of bias in that sense as well. So that's why it's very important to like blend arts and sports, I would say, especially when it comes to academia. And another thing is like, if you give enough importance to arts and sports in school curriculum, it would not just benefit like their, it is not just going to give them like academic benefit or like a social benefit, but it's also going to be beneficial for their emotional well-being. Like, it's like like we could say it's a holistic integral development of a kid when it goes to school, and a kid could like participate both in arts and sports as a kid wishes. Like, so this kind of interdisciplinary games or interdisciplinary arenas are very important, um, especially for the emotional and physical well-being, because emotional well-being of the kids are something that is not enough talked about, especially in our education system. And it is not just here in France, but it's a phenomena all around the world, I would say. Like, emotional well-being or emotional education is not given as importance as like, like IQ or physical well-being when it comes to our schools. And the second thing is like having sports and crafts. It like sports, as we all know, like it motivates like the discipline among kids. It helps the kids to like work in teams. But including arts and crafts in this kind of educational setting would help them not just to focus on like discipline and like teamwork, but also include creativity. Like, like especially in today's world where we are heading towards, we need a lot of creativity, we need a lot of innovation to come, so that we could like create more stuff, because we have already manually achieved a lot of stuff. So that's why it's very much important to have this space of creativity in our educational institutions. And the last point is like, as we have said, like whenever there is an intermixing of different cultures, or whenever there is an intermixing of different disciplines, it would actually lead to an increased tolerance, adaptability, and understanding. And there is something called CQ, which is called cultural quotient, which actually is measured a lot of like enterprises now, or a lot of like business world now. It's a very important skill to have, which is called CQ, because nowadays the world is very much globalized. You can't like work just with somebody who is exactly similar to you. You will have to work in a world which is very much diverse, and not just culturally, but by age or by everything. So CQ is very much important for our kids, but our educational institutions are not invested in CQ. They are just interested in increasing the IQ. But as we all know, like nowadays, knowledge is on our fingertips, right? We can Google everything. We can find information everywhere. But things like cultural quotient or emotional quotient, all those things are things that we should focus on right now, especially in our education system. And arts have already been proved to help kids in this kind of situations. We have art therapy, especially for like kids who are not able to achieve, or kids who are not able to attend normal educational systems. So like kids who are following parallel educational system because of their whatever be the condition they are, those kids too, they could actually improve their well-being, and they could actually contribute to the society through arts. So that's why it's very important to like bring arts into the international arena, to promote it, and also to like give it a boost, and give it as much as importance as we give to sports. So that's what I wanted to tell today, and very good initiative what you all are doing. And yeah, thank you for giving me the space. I'll always ask.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Rini, for your truly wonderful presentation. You talked about so many aspects. In France, France, it's actually the epitome of culture. France is famous for its art, literature, philosophy, fashion, cuisine, and wine, and all this idea of the joy of living. And that's why French traditions and culture hold a special fascination for foreigners. I remember when I was in France, people everywhere were very intellectual. I mean, they were reading books, even in the bus, in the metro. And know that how food and wine are central to life there at all socioeconomic levels, and much socializing is done around lengthy dinners in French households. Yes, as you said, we need a national arena for arts. Because for arts and sports at the same time, sports can help to increase the social integration and the cultural competence, as you mentioned, to reduce all this bias. And of course, you talked about the importance of sports in the school curriculum, because athletic prowess and academic accomplishments go hand in hand. They function as the two halves of a single coin. So sports are important components of education because they aid, as you said, in the holistic development of a person and results in the overall personality formation of a person. So sports have definitely countless educational advantages that go beyond the physical. Thank you very much, and it's a great pleasure to have you as a member of our team. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we can move forward with our next keynote speaker from India. It's a great privilege to have with us Mr. Ramchandru Tejavan, a significant member of the National Pythian Council. Welcome.
Okay. Namaskar from India. Namaste to all of you.
Namaskar.
Yeah, it's a great effort being undertaken by our Pythian Council, both at national level and international level. So having heard our French speaker speaking of all things, I think the way I would like to look at the things and suggest is, see, what we are talking is what is required for a child or other things. If you keep talking amongst ourselves, that doesn't make headway. It is, yes, a felt need for a child, but done that, I think today, whether we have to get into educational curriculum or a system to build, these are the governments, both at national level and state levels. The governments take decision. Particularly in India, education is a concurrent subject, being both federal government and also state governments take decision on that aspect. Now, now we have to work out a ways and means. How do we get across to the government level? The governments to be convinced. Maybe the bureaucratic system, or maybe the ministers, or maybe the chief minister, maybe the prime ministers, or maybe at the presidential form of the government, which are there, maybe with the president, or maybe in a country like America with the governors. We have to take up with them. Now we have to work out ways and means of doing that. Now, otherwise, we will be talking amongst ourselves within the council whenever we meet, that these are all final elements. See, the sports, the way things have happened both for Pythian Games and the Olympics, so we keep talking that origin is almost at the same time, but did not take shape for just the reason. One is there are patterns. Somebody has to patronize this. Somebody has to, yes, if there is a music, yes, everyone loves. There's hardly any creature on Mother Earth, I use the word any creature, who does not respond to music, whether it could be a bird or it could be an animal or a human being. But still, each one has their own ways of responding to it, maybe based on the condition of the region, location, time, and the way things. Maybe that's where we call it the cultural differences or regional differences or national differences. or international differences. Languages are different. Maybe they have evolved naturally over a period of time. Maybe because of the area or the type of sounds we make it. Now, the language which I'm speaking English, if I talk to somebody who doesn't understand English, or somebody speaks in Hindi, yes, that is in their own level, but it may not be somebody. So there are differences. These are naturally evolved. So two things are there when you compare to the sports and arts and cultural aspect. One is patronage is required, or support is required at the national level and international level. It does calls for a greater amount of marketing and monetary aspect. Yes, there is hardly anybody who doesn't love a painting or who doesn't love a song or a dance or any musical things. That's what I said, because each node has its own music. Each letter has its own history, but then it has to be. So we have to now let us work it out, and how do we take the government now at least Indian government level, India's level. I think our team has been taking efforts to talk to the culture department, which handles with the arts and culture and music, the culture department. And they are responding positively, and I hope we should be able to make them get involved into the whole aspect. At least first is to start with the moral support, and then maybe at a later stage with the financial support. The second aspect is that no, these are not measurable performances in the sense, if somebody makes a music, the same music may be symphonical in one part of the world or one part of this country, maybe the cacophony for somebody else. So, because these are all, naturally evolving things. Same thing with a dance, a dance which we see from even within the country, we have almost hundreds of variety of dances. But then they are again very, very prominent and popular in those respective areas. Maybe Northeast may be different, Southern India may be different, West may be different, Northern India may be different, Central India may be different. So they are all very good and excellent, but requires a common denomination and phenomena, somebody able to appreciate all of them. Versus somebody tomorrow want to hold a competition or a performance there. Now somebody requires to appreciate and understand dance, music and arts and paints from all parts of the country. And then when you go to international level, all parts of the world. So these are the challenges. Now, considering what is required for the future, now it brings the whole world together, all communities together. That's a fact. It has been realized, but we should work out how do we bring it the whole aspect into a common platform. Now, at national level, at least at this stage in India, we have processes. There are organizations to do, but then may not be at the desired level. Now, if something you want to introduce to a curriculum in the school, now then there may be challenges even for the parents bodies, saying that their children are getting overstressed. There used to be, when we were children, there used to be a period, one session of 40, 50 or 60, 70 minutes for sports and games. But I don't find even today in government schools, because even the government schools, they are want to compete with the private schools. So they are even taken out those periods for sports and games. There used to be a subject on ethics and morals. So even those subjects have been taken up because the world is being competitive in a normal education mode and job mode, working mode. So these are finer elements, though it is felt, need is there, realized, but again slowly but steadily, because of the lack of support or patronage, they are getting away. So my sincere advice will be, now let us discuss how do we bring in the governments to agree to this concept that they should be made part of the curriculum and they should be at a local level competition, they should be at regional level competition, they should be national competitions. And then we, as some of the experts who are there, they should bring in a common parameter on which we can measure and evaluate the people, participants. Otherwise, it will become very, very difficult. And probably what sort of difficulties the Pythian Games in early days faced. If something on the record, we should cull it out. What sort of difficulties faced and why it has been phased out, while Olympics has come to a stage where it is. So, and as far as concerned, from our side, we'll take it up with the government of India, the Culture Department, also with the respective state governments, to bring them on platform, to at least to support initially. And maybe as we go along, we can even still give them monetary support. And today, if it has to be organized anywhere or presented to somebody, it requires a travel expenditure, it requires accommodation expenditures and various things. So those are also we had to make this thing. Even private sector today, yes, there are some people who are patronizing it, but there is a limitation on it. So these are various things I thought I should mention to you. And having worked with the government, both at the federal level and the state level, at least whatever little required from my side as an individual and a part of the team headed by at the national level by our friend and also at international level by Mr. Goel. I'm available and I should be with you all. Thank you for giving this opportunity. So that's the way I look at it, rather than saying that no, tea is good. It is good, but we have to work out how to bring it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Champlahru. It was actually very interesting to talk, to hear your presentation, because you highlighted all these challenges and how to maintain respect for the differences of arts and cultures, not only in India, but in different countries, and how at the same time we can break down barriers and to unite all the different cultures and nations through competitions or other various international activities. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we can move forward. I would like to call upon our next keynote speaker from today from Iran, Ms. Azra.
And thanks for having me, dear Rania, and this insightful event. And I wanted to say my thoughts about culture. First, I want to say culture meaning. What is culture? Culture refers to shared beliefs, values, customs, behaviors, artifacts that characterize a particular group of belonging to that culture, and it encompasses the way of life, tradition, language, arts, social norms, practices that are passed down from generation to generation with a community or society. Culture plays a significant role in shaping individuals' identities with their thoughts, behavior, interactions. It provides a framework for understanding the world and guides people's perception, attitudes, values. Culture also defines social rules, expectations, relationships within a community. Cultural diversity exists worldwide, with each culture having its own unique characteristics and perspectives. It is through cultural exchange interaction that individuals can gain a broader understanding of different customs, traditions, ways of life. Moreover, culture is not static but evolves over time as societies change, adapt to new influences and experiences during life, and it can be influenced by factors such as history, geography, religion, politics, technology, and globalization, as we saw how technology, IIU, or how coronavirus or other things suddenly change people culture, and also understanding and appreciating different culture is essential for fostering promoting tolerance, building bridges between diverse communities. It allows individuals to develop empathy, respect, and open-mindedness toward others' perspectives and traditions. Iranian culture refers to shared beliefs, values, custom, behavior, artifacts that include Iran and encompass various aspects of life, including language, religion, art, literature, music, and clothing, social norms. As you know, our language is in some part different, is Farsi, in our part is Azari, and we have Azari tradition. And in religion, the majority of Iranian religion is Islam, and tradition are important in Iranian cultures. Mosques and religions hold beautiful mosques and beautiful dresses when they are doing prayers in mosque they wear. And art and literature, Iran has a rich artistic and literary heritage dating back thousands of years. Persian literature, poetry, and calligraphy have been highly regarded and influential throughout the years. And throughout the history, Iranian includes various forms such as miniature painting, carpet weaving, and also our city is so rich in carpet and painting. Also poetry, weaving, and metalwork. Music, Iranian music is diverse and encompasses traditional folk music, classical music, contemporary style, like tar, setar, and santur, also so important in our music. That are commonly used in traditional Iranian music. And Iranian cuisine known as for its herbs, spices, flavor, rich dishes, kebabs, and stews, and gourmet sabzi, and various types of breeds such as naan, lavash, and popular in Iranian cuisine. Also, Iranian are famous to hospitality. Iranian people. Clothing in traditional Iranian clothing includes garments such as chador, hijab, or traditional dresses for women, or Azari clothes are so famous in our city. And also social norms, respect for elders, hospitality, strong family, gender roles, expectations may vary across different regions. Generally, there is strong emphasis on modesty and social interaction. Just few aspects of culture it included in our country. I tried to summarize.
Thank you very much, Ms. Azra. You focused on how cultural appreciation is this way of honoring another culture for exploration and thinking and understanding as a way to honor cultural beliefs and traditions. How the cultural understanding is important. And you mentioned about your country, how Iran has one of the oldest, richest, and most influential art heritages in the world, which encompasses many disciplines: literature, music, dance, calligraphy, also architecture, painting. So thank you very much, Ms. Azra. I think that today we are very multicultural, multi-ethnic here. And now I would like to move with our next keynote speaker from Kenya, Mr. Felix.
Kamaku Felix. I'm Kamaku Bondo Felix, out art, music, literature, fashion, and sports. And I'm going to start by, I'm going to be using my country as a reference point. So I'm going to be using Kenya. Kenya is a the culture of Kenya is very, very diverse. There are over 40 tribes, each with their own traditions and customs. 70% of Kenya is made up of 5 large tribes. That is the Kikuyu, Luya, Luos, Kalenjin, and Kambas. And I'm going to be talking about their, we have, each of them has a unique culture. It has unique traditions that set each one apart from the other one. These cultures have been embraced by people both not only in Kenya, but also outside Kenya, in East Africa, Africa, and the rest of the Africa. So the Kenyan culture, which has evolved over centuries, is rich and very much alive. It can actually be seen in the visual arts, applied arts, can be able to see it in food, music, dance, sports, fashion, literature, theater, and the people themselves. And the culture of Kenya can be seen through the arts and crafts designed by different communities. They are made up of locally available materials and include wood carvings. You come to Kenya, you'll be able to see beaded necklaces, bracelets, masks, baskets, figurines. A good place to find Kenyan arts and crafts is in the Maasai market in Nairobi. Future and even the planet. So that is the essence of art, and we are currently using the competence-based curriculum, and the learners in all levels, they are learning art activities. The other one I wanted to talk about is music and dance. And every community in Kenya has their own music and dance. And all you have to do is to get a glimpse of the country's musical diversity in tune into any of the more than 10 vernacular radio stations. You'll be able to see this. From the diagram that you can be able to see, personally, I'm a Kamba. You can be able to see the Kamba traditional dances. That is referred to as the Kilume. And then on this other side, you can be able to see the Maasai dances. The Maasai dances. The Maasais in Kenya, of course, they have a very, very rich culture. I believe it's one of the biggest attraction by visitors, locally and internationally. This is not only in their way of dressing, but also in them having the warriors, them having the manner in which they make their houses, and many other practices. So various restaurants in the town have theme nights when music from particular communities is exclusively played. There are times when you go to some places, you find Luo music being played, Luya music being played, Kamba music. Music as well as performing arts are embedded in the Kenyan curriculum. But what is the essence? Why music and dance? Music and dance helps by communicating freely with the voice. So by communicating freely with the voice, face, and the body, children learn to express ideas with confidence, empathize with others from different cultures and backgrounds, making them more imaginative and collaborative. So that is the essence. And then apart from that, I'm going to talk about literature. There are so many books about Kenya that portray the country's rich culture. And some of them have titles like Facing Mount Kenya. That was written by our first president from Kenya. We also have others done by Ngugi wa Thiong'o and so many others. Apart from that, you find that every year Kenyan schools, they usually have what we call the Kenya National, they usually have the Kenya National Drama Music Festival, which is held across the country. The Kenya National Theatre is a good place to enjoy Kenyan cultural music, dance, and plays. The other one I wanted to talk about is fashion. You can be able to see fashion. This is not only the fashion that we have, but you realize that in Kenya, different communities have different fashions. Like this first part, you can see we have baskets. Those baskets are done by the Kambas. And then the next picture you see we have the Maasai. The Maasai that in the regalia. You can see they are looking amazing. So Kenya doesn't have national dress, although several attempts have been made in the past to come up with one. However, there are a lot of fashionable products produced in Kenya. For example, kiondos, woven handbags made from sisal and leather trimmings. They're also very, very popular, not only in the country, but also internationally. Popular textiles such as kangas, and the kangas are the ones that women tie around their wrists, around their waists. With very beautiful patterns are often the Kenya's proverbs imprinted on them and the kikois. But what is the essence? Why fashion? Fashion in itself is a language of creativity and exploration. So Kenyans use this as a language of creativity and exploration. It also encourages creativity. It inspires uniqueness, and it also helps to break social norms. Like you can see, personally, I'm dressed in one of our legalias. So this is fashion you find in the country. Most of the people you find them wearing this, and this just but one of our rich culture that Kenya enjoys. And then the next one I wanted to talk about is sports. We have many traditional sports. Like if you look at the first one there, you see there is bullfighting. These are unique sports that are not done in other countries. You find them mostly in Kenya, like bullfighting. We have traditional hunting. You can be able to see in the second picture where we have spears. Kenya also does very well in other in athletics, in marathon, specifically in marathon. Like last year, the winners of the big city marathons were, oh yes, Kenyans. From Tokyo, we had Eliud Kipchoge. Boston, we had Evans Tebet. London, we had Amos Kiprotich. Berlin, we had Kipchoge. All these ones are winners from Kenya. You can see Kenya does excellently in marathon. Actually, you come to Kenya and go to Nandi, you find that it's written, "Welcome to the home of champions." So we take our country as a champion for marathons. Kenya is certified superpower in the world of athletics, the way Brazil is in football and America is in basketball. It is renowned for athletics who have dominated the middle and long distance races. The country has also performed very well internationally in volleyball and cricket. But why games? So games is also, as I said, is also embedded in our curriculum under what we call the physical health education curricula. This curricula makes use of games and sports. They are well positioned to support transformative educational experiences, both for educators and students. So, so much about our cultures. Thank you so much. I think I'm done.
Thank you very much. And now I think it's time to call upon our last speaker for today, Mr. Sasil Bansod from India.
Firstly, I would like to thanks to organizer of this conference. This is Sushil Bansod. This is my introductory slide. I'm working as an assistant professor under the Department of Accountancy in CCCS Chintamarao College of Commerce, Sangli. My specialization is in finance. I'm also a researcher, writer, actor, poet, and author. And I have especially like to tell you that I won Best Actor Award for Employment Short Film in International Film Festival. That means I'm very closely connected with art. Okay. So I'm going to our subject, art and culture in India. The earliest form of Indian art origin around 3500 BC. The history of this form has been largely influenced by culture and religious aspect. The country diversified culture leave its impressive market authenticate masterpieces in the painting, sculpture, writing, musical composition, and rich. 1 minute. Enriched with the picturesque landscape and glorious history, India's renowned and brilliant combination of spiritual as well as modernity. I really think that culture plays a significant role in the growth of any nation. It represents a set of shared visions, values, goals, and practices. Culture and creativity are manifested in almost all economic, social, and other activities. A diverse country like India is a symbol of the diversity of its culture. India is one of the world's largest collection of songs, music, dance, folk, traditions, rituals, paintings, writings, etc. It is a ICH, we can say, intangible cultural heritage. There are some arts which are mentioned here: archaeology, dance, fairs and festivals, handicrafts, architecture, heritage, literature, momentum, music, painting, theaters, performance, and films. These are some famous arts in India. I would like to show another uh, uh, word file. There I mentioned the state-wise form of arts. What arts are famous in what states? Okay, I'm showing you. I prepared this chart. Here we can see the name of states and the traditional art forms. This is my research because I'm a researcher. That's why I prepared this chart. Here we can see the Andhra Pradesh. There are which dance are famous, or which art are famous, which songs are famous, which paintings are famous. Because the states are famous for dance, song, and paintings. There are Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Bihar. There are 28 states in India, and their art forms are given here. Also, the 8 union territories. I'm from Maharashtra. In Maharashtra, there are Lavani is a prakar of is a form of dance. This is Marathi Lavani, famous in Maharashtra. You can say here 14 number row. This is show the Maharashtra's art, form of arts. And there are 8 union territories, and I am also to mention the name of union territories and which famous arts are famous in that states. Okay, you can see here. After my completion of my presentation, I will share it through WhatsApp. Okay. Now I'm going to my presentation. The most money-making arts in India. There are traditional Indian paintings. Indian are famous for paintings. There are various forms of paintings. Also, the acting is a money-making art in India. Sculptures, photography, folk and tribal arts, and textile arts. Textile is in India. The textile art is very famous art. The resources for the artist offered by the Indian government. Indian government take a good initiatives for our artists, but the artist can't get all the benefits of that scheme. Okay? There are very less artists get the benefit of that schemes. Indian government launched that schemes for artists, scheme for scholarship to young artists to different culture field, performing art grant scheme, artisan pension fund welfare scheme, scheme for Tagore National Fellowship and museum grant schemes. The schemes launched especially for the artists who are engaged full-time in art. This is the data of artists I get from internet. I also given the link where I get the data. In the world, there are 17 million artists, and there are total 31,139 artists in India. This is the not right figure. This is the internet. This figure is getting from the internet source. I think only those artists who promote their art through the social media or to register in website. This is the figure of that artist. That means there are very lack of techno-savvy artists in India. Here we can say how many universities, institutes, and colleges in India. There are universities 1,130. Standalone institute 11,296 and colleges 43,796, and total number of government schools in India. This data is 2011-12. There are 10,32,049 schools of which handled by government, and there are private schools for 34,753. And also every school there are every year the gathering that conduct that types of event, and there's the students show their cultural activities, their art in that gathering. And we can go through a representative in this college to promote our MPGs. This is the data of India. There are 28 states, 8 union territories, total districts 766, talukas 5,650, and villages 6,400. 6,40,930. Okay, if we want to reach young artists, then we go through this way. We have to reach educational institutions which are stated each and every corner of the country, school, college, university. We reach the young artist, or they may be your representative. These slides will give you an idea of how many representatives you will need to promote MPG through this school. This chart also show total states and union territories in India, also show the total district, total talukas and total villages, which help to know the current profile of nations. We have to reach all these corner of the nations, or you can select the state wise, district wise, or taluka wise, or village wise representative. This slide will give you an idea of how many representatives you will need to promote MPG. Or you can go this way, or you can go that way. There are the problems related to village artists. There are huge number of village artists in India, and these problems I personally want to share with you. There being unorganized sector, absence of support, there are lack of support getting from society to the artist, poor or limited exposure, societal pressure, lack of recognition, absence of resources. There are less resources available to the artist. Knowledge and technology is low. Our artists is in India. There are huge artists, but some of the artists are illiterate. Hence, they can't techno savvy, or they can't literate. They can't reach the national, international art competition. Poverty and inequality is also the problems faces by the village artist. Literacy rate is very low. Absence of market intelligence, lack of motivation, and high pressure and hectic lifestyle is also the problem of village artists. So the general recommendation I would like to give to MPGs: create a strong online presence, encourage local attraction with engaging content, showcase local events and business, host festivals to celebrate your location, make available maps and direction to attractions to the village artist, generate an email list to share updates, or you can take a mobile list to share updates, get connected with the school, college through the young representative of your council, and appoint representative for each state, district, taluka, and village to reach out to every unknown creative and innovative artist. This is my general recommendation to MPGs, and thank you. Thank you to allow me to present myself.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sasil. It was a very interesting presentation, especially when you highlighted the problems related to village artists, the absence of resources, the absence of market intelligence. You mentioned the absence of support. All this is a societal pressures. I think artists all around the world are struggling with their survival. We'll know about this, and this is what we're trying to do here in Modern Pythian Games, is to encourage and to give them a voice, and of course to help them showcase and commercialize their work through this platform, and through also all the activities and the competitions that we are planning to implement in different countries. So thank you very much. So I think we can close this session. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to congratulate Modern Pythian Games for organizing the 11th International Virtual Conference. I would like, of course, to thank all our eminent guests from different countries who present us today different aspects of the culture of the countries, and they share the visions. All the audience who watch us live, and of course Mr. Bigender Goel, Panos Kaltsis, who are the two visionaries, the two initiators of this global cultural movement. See you next week with new countries and new guests and new ideas. Thank you very much. Wishing you a wonderful evening.